Welcome to the Pint of Beer Chef, a channel dedicated to the pint of three. Here you'll learn everything you need to know to brew like a pro. Okay, in today's video, I'm going to show you how I go about splitting a 40 pint beer kit into four so that I can use it for four separate small batches for the pinter. I've opted for a Geordie Scottish export, which I thought would be decent. It's an inexpensive kit. This was only £11.50 and it's 1.5 kilo. So it's quite a small kit. To boost the flavour and the mouthfeel on this, we will, when it comes to fermentation, we will add some beer extract kit or dry malt extract. That's what the instructions on this would be. You can get bigger kits for like 3.5, 3.6 kilo kits, and they don't need any additional fermentables adding to them because there's enough liquid malt extract in them for fermenting and getting the desired results. But these cheaper ones, you'll always find that you need to boost them with dry malt extract or beer extract kit. You can get a kilo though of the beer extract kit from brew to bottle for £6. So that 1 kilo bag will divide into four nicely, 250 grams per batch. When you add the price up, you get £11.50 for the actual 40 pint kit. 1 kilo bag being £6. It's a bit less than £6 actually, but let's just round it up to £6. And I've bought one extra packet of ale yeast because the one packet of yeast that we get into this would not be enough to split into four. So I've doubled it up with that. Taking the cost total into consideration and rounding everything up, the price of the kit, the yeast and the malt extract, it would work out to between 50 and 55 pence a pint. So it's great value for money. You're not really going to beat that. Obviously, we've been looking at these small batch kits. George's do the small batch kits. They've got 3 on option now, and of course, there's a few new ones coming in the pipeline. Mangrove Jack has released their 3. These are all good. They are good value. I'm only testing one of them at the minute, the George's Pills. So I can't really comment on the quality of them and what they taste like. But compared to the pinter prices, of course, we're on a winner. But compared to breaking down the 40 pint kits, I mean, you're just not going to beat this. With the 40 pint kits, if you can average between 50 pence to 70 pence a pint, there's just no small batch kit dedicated to 10 pints that's going to rival that price point. So it's an interesting idea to experiment. But as you can imagine, the most important thing with these kits is, can you divide them into 4 10-pint kits and successfully actually keep them to the point where they're still usable? Because if you divide a kit into 4, use 1 and the rest go off, then you're just wasting your money. It's no result at all. So we really need to work out a way that we can divide this kit into 4 and put it in a cupboard. I know it's going to be fresh and good to use for at least 6 months, or preferably till the date that is on the pack. So the way I go about achieving this is I use the Kilner preserve jars, which are used for jams and pickles and preserves and all that kind of thing. And these jars they come basically with these split lids. And when you screw these lids on, it's the type of lid that's got the popper on the top. So you can press the popper on so you know that there's air inside the jar. But when we've gone through this process, these will be vacuum sealed, airtight, and the liquid malt extract that we've split into these 4 jars will then be able to be kept in just a cool, dark, cupboard, pantry, and they'll last. The pickles, preserves, and jams are good for 6 months once they've been vacuum sealed in these preserved jars. Now, I would say that this liquid malt extract, when we repackage it and vacuum seal it, I think that this will be good for the date that's on the actual tin. So definitely 6 months. But if the date on the tin is longer, then I would say it'll be good for that time. But I think 6 months is more than reasonable. But you don't have to keep it in your fridge. You can keep it in your cupboard, in your pantry. it will sit there quite happily, and as long as you use them all up within 6 months, which I think is a respectable time scale, then that makes this a successful project. So I'm going to show you how I go about doing that. It's not too difficult. I have a big pot here. This is a 15-litre pot or saucepan, if you like. I use this for actually mixing the extract kits. I use it for my all grain kits, and so really this is super versatile for me. I use it for everything, and this process with these jars, this works perfectly with that as well. I bought this cooling rack which fits perfectly inside this 15-litre pot to stop the jars, because you don't want to set the jars right on the bottom of any saucepan or pan where it's in almost direct contact with the flame underneath. So you need to put a bit of space between that. You can use an upturned plate. As long as the plate is heat resistant, you can turn a plate upside down, set them on top of the plate. But for what these cost, to be honest, they're so inexpensive. I bought one of these because it's kind of like perfect for the job. So I'll tell you the method, and then I'll just press on with it and jump to the next bit. Basically, we're going to put the rack in here. We're going to put the 4 jars standing inside this. I'll actually show you here what it's going to look like. We're going to put the 4 jars on here inside the big pot. We're going to just drop the lids in the gaps, the lids, and the inner sleeve of the lid. And then we're going to fill it up with water. We're not going to fill the inside of the jars. I just point out as well, people have got different ways of doing this. This is just what I do for myself. I find it the fastest way, the most convenient way, the most successful way. If you look up online, or if you look at the Kilner website, they're going to show you a totally different thing. They're going to show you a totally different thing. So what I'm demonstrating to you now is how I do it. It works for me. I'm happy. But if you see alternatives, you want to try them, then go ahead. That's fine. But the way I do it is I don't fill the jars up with water. I just half fill the actual pot, so it's basically about halfway up on all 4 of the jars. At this point, you start off with cold water just from your tap, because you can't go with glass, these jars, straight from hot to cold, and you can't use cold jars and put a heated liquid malt extract in it, because it has the risk of actually cracking the jar. So what you need to do is put this in cold water and slowly heat it up to warm the jars up. Now, I heat these up to a temperature of 80 degrees C, not boiling. At this point, there's 2 things that happen. The primary thing we're trying to achieve here is to just warm the jars up, ready for the heated beer pack to be divided into them, so that there's an equilibrium between the heat. Secondary to that, though, if we go up to 80 degrees, then it actually sanitizes them a bit by the temperature, because 80 degrees is sufficient to kill off all the bacteria in the jars and in the saucepan. So that's the plan of attack. I'll go through phase 1. I'll get these in here. I'll get the water in. I'll get it warmed up to 80 degrees. And then we will come back, step 2, and I'll talk you through that at the time. See you in a minute. Okay, the water is up to 80 degrees C now. I've got rid of the thermometer, and I have put the 40 pint kit in some hot tap water. It's not boiling, but it's hot enough from the tap. That's been sitting there for 10 minutes now. So I'm ready to get these jars out. Oh, incidentally, if you heat these jars up and you find them bobbling around because of the air trapped in them, they tended to want to tip over, then it's fine if you want to put an inch of water inside the jar just to keep it upright and stop it trying to float in the water. That's no problem at all. We'll just tip the water out anyway when we come to use them. So the method now is I'm going to take the jars out. I've got these, if you like, jar claws or pincers or whatever you might call them. These are cheap as chips, this little magnetic, it's just a little magnet on the end of a plastic strip. That's to handle the lids, just so the risk of contaminating them with your fingers is reduced. Because if you pick up the inner lid like this, your fingers are wrapping around the edge of the lid, and it's considered to be a contamination risk. So in this instance, they recommend that you use a magnet so you can put it on top of the jar. I'll show you that in a bit. But just to give you an example of what we're going to do here is I'm going to take this jar out. Like I say, I put like a couple of inches of water in. You don't need to go above the water level, but if you find them tipping up and bobbling about, then just put some water in them. It's no problem. And at this point, we'll tip the water out anyway. So these jars are warmed up now, of course. You know, they're not, you know, they're hot. You know, they're hot. I mean, they are going to be sterilized now, sanitized because of the temperature, 80 degrees. And when we put the hot malt extract in them now, the temperature is going to be sort of like fairly equal. So there's no risk of causing any damage to the jar. So what I'm going to do now is pop these all these jars out. This is the magnetic thing, and I'll show you what I mean by this is you can just pick the lids up so that you don't handle the edges of these and risk contaminating, and pop them on the, you know, just a paper towel there. I'll come back to this shortly. Pop them on a paper towel just so they can be drying off. Same with these. And we'll get all the jars out. I'll get them lined up, all the lids out ready, and then I'll split the beer kit out and pour it out, divide it into all the jars. So I'll come back to that in 10 or 20 seconds when I get all this sorted. Okay, so there you have it. All the jars now are just sitting there, you know, still nice and warm. I've had them upside down just to let any excess water run out. So I'll flip them back to the right way. I've got this out of the hot water. The top has already been taken off. I like to use this. This isn't just a wide top funnel. You can use it with these jars. This is by Kilner as well, and this is used for the jams and the preserves and stuff. Now, if you're confident of pouring that and not spilling it all over your side, you don't really need this, but I'm not confident of doing that at all. So I do use it just in case. So you catch the excess in this. You know, you can clean this, just thoroughly wash this, and you can sanitize it. But bear in mind, these are going to go back into the water after this process to boiling point, which will totally sanitize the contents and the jar and the lids and everything before we actually bring them out to vacuum seal them. So, you know, you don't have to worry too much. Do the best you can with sanitization, but remember that the sanitization is going to take place back in the water anyway. So I don't like to weigh this and mess about with it. You know, it can be a messy job. I like to just get on with it, get the job done. Basically, I'm just going to get the tin. I'm going to go across all 4 of these and just to the best of my ability, divide it into 4. It doesn't have to be super accurate because don't forget, we're going to be adding malt extract to this anyway and boosting it. So it's not like there's going to be a huge issue if there's a slight variation and one jar's got more in it than the other, you know, but you'll pretty much get them as equal to the best of your ability. And at that point, you know, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine when we come back to it in the future. So I'll get this poured. I'll give this a bit of a squash just to give it more of a sort of like a funnel effect. What I tend to do is go like probably an inch in there, inch and a bit. Just bring that on to the next. These are 500ml jars, half a litre. The only 2 jar types that I use is 500ml and 1 litre, depending on the kit that you're splitting. There are some kits that actually I only split into 2 because they're like 18 pint kits. I've got like a Belgian double at the minute, which I split into 2. It was an 18 pint kit, and I split it into 2 and boosted that with dark liquid malt extract, and that is actually still brewing today. So I'll just have a quick look. I mean, to be honest, these kits have not got loads in them. I mean, Jesus, that's not a bad guess, I'll tell you. So I'll just go another little bit in there. The thing I like about the funnel as well is rather than wait for the drip to stop, you know, I can let it just slow down to a trickle. It looks like toffee, this, doesn't it? Then I can just clip it with the funnel and move on. You can see this particular kit, you know, you probably get away with a 350ml jar, but I find going for the half litre jars, you're going to be covered for every eventuality. If you're splitting into 4, The half-litre jars will probably cover every kit that you can buy. So let's see, we've got just the ones on the edge, a little bit off. You want to try and do this as swiftly as you can, because as it cools down, it's more resistant to pouring out. Right, final check. That is a little bit on this end one again. Like I say, these don't have to be perfect. You know, we're boosting all of these anyway, and as long as you get it within a half a centimetre, I'd say that's as good as you could ask. So that smells okay. You know, there's a splattering in there, stuck to the sides, of course, but that's good enough for me. It's as good as really I hope from it. And I'll be honest, I know you could get a spoon there, you could scrape a bit more from that, but you know, for me, it's just not necessary. You know, this is a small kit anyway, 1.5 kilo. I'm having to boost all of these with dry malt extract. 250 grams of dry malt extract is going to more than sufficiently do what's required to finish this kit off when it comes to fermenting in the pint top. So I'm not going to bother wasting my time, to be honest, scraping that with a spoon for an extra couple of millimeters. You know, but if you wish, you know, if you want to get every last bit out, you know, that's fine, you can. But for me, that's going straight in the bin. Right, so at this point, now we can put the lids on. Now, this is where the magnet thing comes in, but like I say, don't worry too much, because we are in a position where this is going to go back in the water, and we are going to be sanitizing this, sterilizing it, if you like, by using the temperature of the water. But this is what these are for. This is why the people that make the preserves and the jams and stuff use these magnet things, so they can put that on there without handling the edge and risking that contamination, which would really be the weak point, to be honest. Handling the edge of that lid and your fingers under it and putting any kind of bacteria inside there really would be its Achilles heel, if you like. So these lids, when you screw these on, as soon as you feel a touch, that's it. You don't need to put any pressure in them at all, because these lids are specially made to release the gases as it heats up. So as soon as you go down like this and feel it stop, that's it. No tension. No tension in it at all. No tension required. At this point, as this goes back in the water now and heats up, all the excess gases need to be able to be released from that. And then when we take it back out the hot water, after we've boiled it, as it cools down, it's the change in pressure that creates the vacuum seal. So these really are just lightly screwed on there. We get the water back into action. This has been cooling down somewhat, which is fine, because these jars are cooling down themselves now because of the time it took us to process. Now you'll notice at this point the lids have still got that click on top, so you know that of course there's air in there and it's not successfully sealed, which of course you wouldn't expect at this stage, but it's handy that these lids are made that way so we can check at the end of the process to be sure if we've got it right and it's working. And if it isn't, you can redo the process. You can heat the water up again and go through the process again of heating them and creating the vacuum seal. But you know, if you stick to the plan of action, you shouldn't have any issues at all and should get it the first time. So flame on. We'll get that heating back up now. We'll bring it up to a boil this time. That water that's in there, all you need to do is make sure that the water that's in the saucepan is sufficient to cover the extract inside your jars. As long as it's covering that, it's about halfway up the jars. As long as it's covering that, you're good to go. We'll slowly bring this up to the boil now, and it will sterilize it, sanitize it, create the effect where the pressure, the steam inside the jar will be forced out. And then we'll bring them all out like I mentioned earlier, let them cool down, the lid will trap it in, and as the pressure, as the actual temperature drops, then the pressure difference inside causes the vacuum seal to suck down, and then that's it, they're good to go for 6 months. 6 months, probably more. You know, the date on this was May next year, May 25, and I would say that once these are vacuum sealed, you put them in your cupboard, I think these will still be good till May 25. So that's it. I'll get this boiled up, and when it's boiled, I will pop the camera back on and just show you the final phase, which I've pretty much talked through now. But we'll wrap it up there. Okay, so I'll see you shortly when this is boiled. Okay, this is nicely boiling away now. I'll keep it on a moderate boil. I've set a timer for 5 minutes, and then as soon as the 5-minute timer's up, I'll turn the gas off, take them out of the hot water, and put them on the side, ready to cool down. So I'll catch you in 5 minutes. Okay, this has been boiling now for 5 minutes. The timer's up, so to flame off, we'll remove these jars. Okay, there you have it. You know, it's a very easy process, really. It doesn't take too much time and effort. And of course, once you can master splitting these 40 pint kits, you know, then the price point of these is just totally unbeatable. I know that Mangrove Jacks have got the 10 pint kits coming out, which look good. You know, and the price point for that is good for a 10 pint kit. But of course, you've already got the options, the same 3 options from George's, and they're $7.95. So it'd be interesting to taste test them 2 against each other, the 2 different brands, and see how they compare. And whilst that's good value compared to the pinter kits that go up to £22 a pack, you know, if you look at the summary of this kit, admittedly, this was an inexpensive kit, but even the more expensive ones, they come out very good value for money. And of course, if you get the 3.5 kg kits that you don't need the fermentables, the beer extract or the dry malt extract, you know, then you're paying more for the kit, but then you're not actually adding the additional costs in anyway. So it's great value no matter how you look at it. Now, to summarize the cost of splitting this kit, it was £11.50 for the kit. What I would recommend you get with this, I didn't actually purchase this because I've already got dry malt extract that I need to use up in half kg bags. So I'm just using up some stock here. But what I would do if I was buying a kit like this, you know, this Scottish export, I would have just gone for the Ritchie's malt extract I don't know why, but every time I do a video now, it seems to be that the ice cream van comes down the street. It must know when I try and squeeze these videos in. But anyway, the Richie's malt extract, not malt extract, sorry, that's the ice cream van's through me. The Richie's beer enhancer for 1 kg, I think it's 5.75, less than £6. That breaks down to like £1.50 per, if you like, pack per jar. That's great value for money. But the entire price then, if you were to go for the £11.50 kit, the Scottish export that I've just bought here, £6, we'll just round it up for the Richie's Beer Enhancer 1 kg. And then I bought an extra yeast pack, which was £3.50. So the total cost then of this to produce 40 pints in your pinter will be £21. So if you divide that by 40 pints, basically, what you're getting here is 53 pence a pint. Compared to the most expensive, it's probably an unfair comparison, to be honest, but compared to the most expensive pinter ale, £22, £2.20 a pint, 53 pence compared to 2.20. That's, it's a big difference. And even if you come down to the pinter lower price points, in truth, you're probably going to be paying 140 to 170 a pint, sort of as an average. So you've got loads of options there. I do still use the pinter beer packs. I still buy them. I do like them. But of course, more and more, I like to experiment with these and see if the quality's there. If you can do something, maintain the quality, and of course do it at a reduced price, then of course it's just human nature to investigate that, and explore that direction. So I don't think there's any harm in sort of like this journey of seeing how cheap you can make beer in your pinter. I do some of the all grain kits in my pinter. I do small batch all grain brewing. I put that through my pinter as well. I think I could probably average about £1.50 a pint with that, and that's for a complete all grain kit. Even if I'm using 5 different grains, hops, and yeast, 15 quid for the whole lot. So, so there's a lot of good value out of there. There's a lot of variations we can look at. But this, essentially, anyway, it's done now. These, you don't press these buttons yet because these are still in the state of where they're heated up and the actual the steam has been forced out of the jar. But it's only through cooling down now that the vacuum seal will take place. Now, you're going to be better off to let these sit really for however long it takes without refrigeration to come down to room temperature. I prefer to just leave them sit for 24 hours. Don't touch them. I can hear these lids starting to crack, so, I know that now that there's a bit of pressure as these jars cool down, already the lids are starting to react. But leave it 24 hours at room temperature. And once these have settled down to room temperature, the difference in pressure will have vacuum sealed that beautifully. And at that point, I just pinch the lids on, do them up properly then. Not super tight, but pinch them on because, of course, they're still in their loose state where we just touched them earlier. And that's it then. I've got 4 10-pint kits there waiting for use. As far as the malt extracts go or the beer enhancers, of course, in the big bags because they're dry, if you fold the bag over and just clip them sealed, if you buy a 1 kilo bag, I'm more than happy to take 250 grams out of that and roll it over and just seal it with clips, and that will keep, it'll keep in your pantry or in your cupboard. So I don't think preserving that is really an issue. It's getting these liquid malts extracts really divided, and that's what you need to master really. Once you've nailed that, of course, what you've seen today, you can go out now and take any beer extract kit off the market, of which there's a vast array. I mean, that's the joy of this. It opens up so many different variations. We can really go to town on this and have some fun. And we're getting sort of like cracking beer at real good, value, a real good price point. And I think that's part of the enjoyment of brewing at home, really. I personally, like most people, I want the quality, but I want the value as well. Why wouldn't I? Why would I want to pay more? So that's it for today. I hope this video has been useful, and I hope it's guided you towards going down the path of experimenting with your 40-pint kits. And if you do anything interested, let me know. If you've got any recommendations for me, let me know. And of course, it's going to be, I hope it's going to be an enjoyable journey for you, going down the 40-pint path, even if it's just for the odd experiment now and again. Okay, so that's it for today. Cheers. just a quick one. I thought I would just mention that my next video is going to be taste testing George's Pilsner. It was £7.95. Now, what I opted to do with this one is run it through the pint. It does say on the packet that you don't need extra fermentables with it, like sugar or malt extract or any of that. So it's a bit like the pint of kit where everything's in there. Now, one thing I would say is that is actually a 5 litre kit, which is less than 10 pints. In your pinter, you actually, when you put in the pinter fill line, specifically is 5.3 litres. And if you put pretty much an average of a 1 litre pack on top, there's 6.3 litres there. So the 5 litre kit, I could have gone, say, 4.5 litres water and then put the George's pack on top. But of course, it's only a 10-pint vessel, and I always like to get 10 pints out of it. So I just pushed it all the way and filled it up with the 10 pints. Now, I knew that was going to affect the alcohol volume and the quality of the taste to some extent, but I thought it would give me a rough idea. I wanted to run the first one through on the Pilsner without any malt extract or beer enhancer or anything extra, because I just wanted to see at its most basic level, was it worth messing about with? Was it worth experimenting? The alcohol volume, I think, was advertised at 4.1, but because it overstretched it, it finished at 3.6. It's only just gone into conditioning in 2 days, so I'm a long way off it being ready. But I just guessed. To be honest, I mean, I just take a random guess. I don't do lagers that often. I prefer the ales myself, to be honest, and the stouts and that sort of thing. But I just, if I'm doing something for the first time, I generally give it 9 days fermentation. And then I start taste testing. Well, to be honest, I mean, I was going to say I start taste testing from 7 days plus, but I don't, because I've got a taste test here, and this is only 2 days in. And I actually taste tested this when it was one day in, so I can't help myself to just taste it when it's conditioning. But I'm actually, just to give you a little sort of like heads up on this, but this George's Pilsner, I would say, this is only 2 days into conditioning, I would say it's actually okay, to be honest. It seems pretty decent, considering I didn't boost it and I didn't give it any extras or anything. It's $7.95 at that price point. I know that there's a lot of talk about the Mangrove Jacks 10 pints kits, but I think the George's, you've got the lager, you've got the Pilsner, you've got the IPA. I think these might be worth having a stab at. My first impression is, I think it probably should have had longer in fermentation. It still tastes a little bit sweet to me. I don't know if the conditioning is going to improve that. But if I was to do it again, and I will do it again, it's definitely good enough that I will do it again, I think I'd probably go 12 days fermentation. And now I've tried it in its basic format, if you like, and I've not added anything to it. And the flavour and the mouthfeel is good enough. It's this good. And I overshot it as well with over 6 litres, and it was only a 5 litre kit. I actually think this is definitely worth doing again. And the next time, what I'd say is I'll do the official taste test for this when the conditioning's over, by the way. This is not a taste test. But what I will do is, the next time I rerun this, I think I'll go for 200 grams of the Ritchie's beer enhancer. I'll give it, I think it's a little bit, smells a bit sweet, tastes a bit sweet. So I think I'd give it probably 12 days fermentation. And then I'll go into conditioning and probably start taste testing 7 days on. I think it would totally drink. I could drink this now, to be honest. It's conditioning 2 days. So I think that it would be drinkable after 7 days conditioning, but it'll probably be at its best 12 to 15 days conditioning. But depends. I don't like hanging around for lagers, to be honest. I like the quality, but I like the speed as well. I like knocking this stuff out, drinking it, moving on to the next one. I've got 4 pints to do. I've got a lot of stuff going on, so I can keep myself busy. I've got a real nice Belgian double. I keep banging on about Belgian double, because when I went to visit Belgium and I had the Belgian double over there, I was super impressed. I don't expect the extract kit to rival that quality, but of course it's probably no time soon that you're ever going to see a Belgian double through the Pinter supply line. So it's great to be able to get an extract kit. Like I said, this one was only divided into 2. So instead of these 500ml jars, that went into 1 litre jars, 2 jars. That is going to be overstretched slightly again, because it was an 18-pint kit. So in dividing it by 2 gives you 9 pints. Now, I could have either ran 9 pints through the pinter, but as I've just said, I don't like running less than 10 pints in a 10-pint vessel. So what I would tend to do is overstretch it, but I actually was using liquid malt extract anyway with that as a beer enhancer, and it was dark liquid malt extract, and I put 400 grams of that in. So that's really going to give that a solid boost. It's going to give the instructions with that, by the way, did require additional fermentables, be it sugar or malt extract. So it wasn't an option that had to be included, but I opted on the dark liquid malt extract for that because I thought it really enhanced the Belgian double. So I'll do the taste test on that, but that was the same process as this, split into two. And my next video will be, actually I'll be taste testing the George's Pilsner properly, and I will be actually showing you that now how I take one of these kits and actually put it through the pinter to ferment, condition, and get the final result. And then we'll go on to taste test this Scottish export. So I'll show you that once. I've showed you how I separate. Anyway, there's probably loads of ways to do it, but I've showed you how I do it. And then I'll show you how I ferment and process this and condition it and turn out the end result. And then once you've seen them two, then I don't need to do video of that specific thing again, because once you've mastered one pack, you can do them all. They're all the same. Split them and process them through your pinter in the same way. So that's something for you that might be of interest to you in the upcoming video soon. So that's it. That was just a little quick add-on for today. So enjoy your day, and I'll catch you soon. And I'll try and make sure there's some of this left for the taste test. Cheers. I hope you enjoyed your video today. If you'd like to join our Pinter community, like and subscribe, and leave any comments below. Cheers.